This is the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Didn't even need to use the gavel. I just want to welcome you on this kind of a sad day, emotional day for all of us, to our Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting on this Tuesday, August 21st. We did press the roll call buttons, did we? The open meeting statement has been posted. Today, of course, when we stand for the silent meditation and the pledge, just please remember our associate John Jack Penny today and his family. Very emotional for all of us. I will talk more about that in my report because I did spend some time with the family yesterday at Theta Clark. So please stand and remember the family in your prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, we have the agenda that you all went through. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Press your request to speak.
Mr. Fedowitz?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Fedowitz to approve the agenda. Mr. Nygaard?
Second.
And there's a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Okay. The agenda is approved.
Correct.
Next, we have the minutes of the, pardon me?
I'm sorry, they're not done voting yet. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Did you get one of them up on the side? There we go. I was on the packet. I apologize. Supervisor Lear and Quistman and Ricky, could you? Need assistance? Okay.
Now Dennis is showing up as wanting to speak.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24 to nothing.
To 0. Doing baseball again.
yeah, 27-0. That was for the agenda, right?
Yes, that was the agenda.
Okay, we also have the minutes of the 7/17/18 meeting. Do we have a motion for approval? Supervisor Lair?
No.
Supervisor Morick?
Move we approve minutes.
There is a motion by Supervisor Morick to approve. We have a second. Mr. Nygaard?
Second.
We have a second to approve the minutes of the 7/17/18 meeting. Any question or discussion? Okay, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24 to 0.
Okay, we go down to ordinances, amendments to the General Code of Ordinance. 7A is 2018-656, amendment to Chapter 34, petition number Z-013-18, Town of Dayton, Mark and Joanne Bertram, for a zoning map amendment from AWT District to RR district to accommodate a boundary line adjustment. Good morning. I don't think we have to do that anymore.
So the Bertrams are looking to get a rezone from the EWT to the rural residential district because they're looking to reconfigure their lot lines. And in order to do that, they need to have both parcels that they own in the same zoning district. So that's why they're pursuing this rezone.
Mr. Quisman? Motion to approve. There's a motion approved by Mr. Quisman. Mr. Zog?
Second that.
And a second by Mr. Zog. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24-0.
Likewise, we have 7B, 2018-657, amendment to Chapter 34, petition number Z-014-18, Town of Lind, Daniel K. Usman, for a zoning map amendment from AE District to RC-N District on 2.85 acres.
Mr. Osmond is looking at establishing a business on this parcel on 2.85 acres. It's an excavating business, and in order to do that, he needs to first get the property rezoned into rural commercial neighborhood.
Mr. Gerald Murphy?
Move to approve.
Mr. Hendrick?
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Discussion or questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24-0. I'm sorry I didn't put that on the screen.
Item C, 2018-658, amendment to Chapter 34, petition number Z-015-18, Town of Muckwa, by the Town of Muckwa for the zoning district.
This is a fairly large rezone project that I was working with the Town of Muckwa on. This dates back to the original comp plan rezone process that went through in the 2007-2008 era when they were first adopting their zoning map. When they adopted that zoning map, they put Seward Residential in an area over by Cutoff and Ona Pines, and well, they're not going to be under sewer. There's no plan of there ever being any sewage system out there. And so in working with the town, they agreed that this was an error on their part when they initially made the zoning map back then. And so what we're doing is we're going through a rezone process to get them to a more suitable zoning district, which would be the rural residential district.
Mr. Zog?
I move to approve that change.
There is a motion by Mr. Zog for approvals. Do we have a second? Mr. Fleece?
I'll second that motion.
And a second by Mr. Fleece. Excuse me. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24-0.
We go down to 7D. Repeal section 10.50 through the 10.54 of Chapter 10, Public Nuisances / Health Hazards, and replace with Chapter 51, Agriculture Performance Standards and Agriculture Waste Management, Waupaca County Code of Ordinance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The current Chapter 10, Public Nuisances and Health Hazards, covers several topics that are administered by at least 4 different departments, one of those being the manure management section. That was originally passed in 1986. It's been amended once in 2005. The state requires us to have a ag waste management ordinance to be eligible for a lot of the grant work we do. And obviously, since 2005, it's long overdue for an update. So that's the first thing that's going on here, is that we're repealing that section out and creating a new ordinance that will include ag waste management, which is essentially the same construction and closure procedures for manure storages on farms within the county. And then it will also include the state's agricultural performance standards and prohibitions. Those things have been in state code since 2002 to 2008. They rolled into existence through state administrative rule NR 151 and ATCP 50. One of those is a DNR administrative rule, the other is a Department of Agriculture administrative rule. So we've essentially encompassed those in the new Chapter 51 to give us a little more flexibility within the county to regulate those things. Currently, we rely on DNR staff if we have any issues, and they're very much understaffed. There's one person that serves 8 counties to do that type of work within our county, often as a weight. And furthermore, the changes outlined do a number of things for us. Obviously, it helps us meet the goals of our Land and Water Resource Management Plan better. The updates to the construction ordinance will further encompass some of the federal guidelines and construction standards that we use. There's been a fair number of new ones that have come into play since 2005. We have better language in there for nutrient management planning, and obviously better implementation of those state performance standards. One of the things it does by having this in a county ordinance is allows us to score much better in the grant work that we do to fix some of these problems on the farms. One thing in all of these administrative rules, whether it's DNR, DATCAP, or county, we are required by the state to offer cost share to correct these problems in most instances. Certainly if nothing's changed on the farm since 2002 or 2008, we're often required to apply for grants and to pay 70% of the proposed fixes. That's just the way state law has been through several administrations since 2002. So that language is in this document too. And then, really I think the Land and Water Conservation Committee felt that this would create a better, more fair climate among the farms. Currently we have at least 50% of the farms in the county that, are documented to be following the ag performance standards and prohibitions. The question is, where are the other 50% at? And, are they doing things that the first 50% are not, as far as from a business standpoint? Try to get everybody on equal footing and following the rules. And lastly, we're just trying to improve the overall water quality in Waupaca County, Wolf River Basin, and to better protect our land and water resources.
Do we have a motion for approval? Mr. Johnson?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Johnson to approve. Supervisor Pullman,
Second that motion.
and the second by Supervisor Pullman. Discussion, questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries. And let me go back, because
Supervisor, please, looks like he's blinking on ours, requesting this.
Mr. Fleece, were you? No? Okay.
it's going to make you vote one more time because that was on. I apologize. If you could vote one more time on that. You still are, you see on the screen, you are voting on the repeal chapter 10.5 through 10.54 and replace with 51. So if you would just
Vote again?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Pretty much like the regular election, we vote a few times, okay?
Early and often, Dick, early
Yeah.
and often.
Okay, I guess we
There was
need a
mic
motion
on,
to and
so-
all that? type
Nope,
of-
nope,
Okay.
the motion
We need to
is-
vote again, please.
So just go ahead and, Muck, Lear, and Murphy.
Guess the meeting's over, Muck logged out.
Brian spoke too long. Here comes Dusty.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were just logging back in.
I'm trying, I can't get her in.
Thank you, Dusty.
We got help on the way.
Not
That was easy.
Motion carries 24 to 0.
Okay,
Sorry
thank you.
about that.
Excuse me. Okay, we'll go down to number 8, resolutions. Resolution number 13, 18-19, Waupaca County Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. Mr. Brown's on his way up. Along with an accomplice from East Central. Good to see you. Yeah.
So this plan is really an update of an existing plan. The existing plan was first adopted in 2008, and that plan was originally written by East Central Regional Planning. So the reason why we're looking at updating this plan was based on a comp plan overhaul project that I was working on. Started at a couple years back now, and we had cluster meetings throughout the county, and we were asking all the different clusters as to what your issue is that has a regional significance. And bicycle and pedestrian planning was a topic that got brought up in every cluster in the county. And so that told us that this is something that we need to take a look at, and we need to look at it from a county-wide standpoint and not just a local town. So that's why we took the next step to seek technical assistance from East Central Regional Planning, and we were awarded that. And so that's when Kim Biederman here from East Central Regional Planning, and also Melissa Kramer-Badke came in to help us with the drafting of the new plan. And I'll let Kim describe the process that was used to go through the process for updating this plan.
All right, I'll be brief in the process, and Mr. Brown's going to pull up some images of the maps that we used for the presentation as well. So for the process to kick off, we held some stakeholder meetings, and these stakeholder meetings were to find out from community members, various stakeholders throughout the county, what routes were important to people. We used the existing plan for a little bit of guidance, but then said, in addition to this, what else would you like to see? In addition to the maps, for those who have been able to look through the plan, you might notice that there's also activity recommendations. So that's something else we got out of those stakeholder meetings. And these activities are done to support the maps that you see as well. And those activities focus on the 6 E's that we generally use, which are engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, equity, and I realized I wrote engineering down twice. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 E's, and now I'm drawing a blank. So, G, education, encouragement. There's 6 E's. I will think of that other one in just a moment. But of course, you write down 2 of the wrong ones, and now my brain is stuck. So, but we use those activities to support also those infrastructure projects, because what we know is we build the infrastructure, but we also need to make sure that we're making it safe for folks to be out on there, which is why we use that 6E approach. Evaluation, that is the 6E that I just remembered. So that is evaluating the overall program. So how are things going? And that's a really good measurement to see how successful is this plan? How successful are these projects? And like anything, these are living, breathing documents. So do we make adjustments along the way based on what we find out? So the first map that we're looking at is the existing routes. So these are the routes that are already here in the community. So we looked at those to see what routes are existing and are there gaps in those routes. Yes, so in addition to looking at the existing routes, we also have counters. These counters, we have infrared counters that count bicyclists and pedestrians as they pass by those counters. And then we also have pneumatic counters. Those are tube counters. So those tubes that you drive over on the road, we have some that are calibrated to count just bikes. So we set up those counters to have an idea on the different types of facilities that we have, on-road facilities, off-road facilities, paved facilities, true recreational facilities like Hartman Creek, to gauge what are those users on those existing facilities or even those potential facilities. So facilities that we feel that people might be utilizing but could have future enhancement that might increase that usership. And then we also looked to some existing data. So Strava is an online platform. It's a little bit of social networking for athletes, but then on the back end, they can actually map out what routes people are taking. So we use the Strava data to see what routes are really popular, and this is done on a heat map. So that the darker the shade, the more that we know folks are using it. So we use the information from Strava as well as the Silent Sports Guide to see what routes are people already utilizing and what routes are being recommended, because if people are already using those routes or are already being recommended for safe usage, those might need only minor enhancements rather than full-blown paved shoulders or something like that. It might be, we just need to sign this route so folks know that this is a route that bicyclists, you may encounter bicyclists on this route. Yes, and this last one was, I believe, very unique to our organization in doing bicycle and pedestrian plans. One of the things that came out of the stakeholder meetings was we want to see waterway routes, because we know that Waupaca is known for its great water resources, and it was a little unique in our process, but we said, yeah, this is great. Let's also look at what are these waterways that people are taking. So we already have a map established, and what can help with this is if you are pursuing future funding opportunities based around your waterways, you have something established saying, here's some identified routes, these are priorities. So we wanted to make sure that we had this in the plan as well. So it might not be bicycling or walking, but it's still a form of physical activity and potential active transportation. Yes, so out of the finalized plan, so we just saw the recommended waterway map. These are the recommended facilities for Waupaca County. So when we are looking at these recommended facilities, we did not say necessarily what kinds of facilities or enhancements you would need. We feel that that can come as projects arise and really determine what is that appropriate facility. What East Central is always happy to do with these projects is we do have those counters once again. We can always go out with those counters before a project and after a project to see what that's doing for increasing usership. So once again, that evaluation component, but can also help better inform what facility improvement you may want to do. So when we did these recommended routes, we wanted to look at what are some of those community connections to connect the communities for transportation, but also for a recreational standpoint, and also thinking about an economic development, tourism enhancement viewpoint. And I will turn it back over to Mr. Brown to talk about implementation.
So like Kim said, that when it comes to implementation, we understand that this is going to be a living, breathing document in terms of the ability of it changing depending on dynamics within a town or just new routes or new trails that come up. If, you know, right now we know that there's a town that's right now still in development of coming up with a trail system. So like I had told that group that, you know, when they come forward with a cohesive plan for a trail system, we'd be happy to amend this plan for that. You know, we understand that when it comes to trail planning, it's not meant to be a static plan. So in terms of implementation, we're doing a couple things that's a little bit different. The first we're doing is we're actually stealing an idea that originally came out of Marathon County. It's now being used in Outagamie. It's called the Greenways Commission. And in fact, John Francis and I have a meeting tomorrow with Dave Johnson, the assistant planner at Outagamie County, to talk about how we would be able to implement such a thing in Waupaca County so that we can learn from them. The idea with this is, from a broad level, is you have stakeholders, supervisors, staff on a group, and what you're really trying to do is you're trying to funnel time and resources into concentrated areas to get trail connections done. And so you work on this project this year, and then you go on to the next one next year, and you use the plan as your guiding document. One other thing that we're working on right now with Dave Teal, Economic Development Corporation, and also Ian Grasshoff and Land Information is a smartphone app. So the idea on that is that we would have all this data on an app that'd be available for anybody coming into Waupaca County. And it's not going to be just, the bike ped was a catalyst for doing it, but that's not the only information that we're going to have available. We're going to have all different kinds of natural amenities that we have. We're going to be extending it into also ATV, UTV routes as those come on board. So this is also going to be seen as a economic development / tourism. And one of the other things that we're looking at through economic development is possibly using it as a bit of a marketing tool, as a way to show other people who may be interested in moving into our county what we have to offer. Is there any questions on the plan or the process? Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion first.
Supervisor Boyer?
Yes, I noticed that it said that the highway department is going to be responsible for the striping and paving. Are they on board with this?
What it says in there is they have them, it would be most suitable to have them because they have the people, the resources to do that. So when we have a new trail that comes on board, then we would be contacting, working through them. If it works, then we'll go through them. If it doesn't, then we'll go a different route.
And they're okay with that?
Yes, we have been in conversation with the highway commissioner on this. He's in principle okay with the plan, but again, every time we're working on a new trail, if a new trail is going to be created, we're going to be working with whoever the jurisdiction is going to be. If it's going to be working through the Parks Department, we'll be working closely with Parks. If it's going to be, we're going to need cooperation with Highway, they're going to be working with Highway.
We'll need a motion and a second before we have any discussion, please. Mr. Vasquez?
I make a motion that we approve.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Vasquez. Mr. Fleece?
I'll second that.
And a second by Mr. Fleece. Okay, discussion, questions? Mr. Nygaard?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Will this help, by having this plan in place, will this help us to qualify for some funding from some of these projects too, as outside of the county?
Sure. So what this plan does is when you're looking at various funding opportunities, especially federal funding opportunities, as they currently stand, they will ask, is this part of a current plan? And if it's part of a current plan, it will help generally to rank that project higher. I can't say that in every circumstance, but in certain circumstances they will ask. So that does help, as well as when you are working with the DOT and coordinating on projects that come through your communities, you can highlight some of these features to help those amenities as well.
Thank you.
Other questions, discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24-0.
Kim, thanks for coming. Say hi to our friends at East Central from all of us, okay? Good, thank you. Okay, we'll call Mr. Beiersdorf up for an update on the new highway facility.
I just didn't start.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Keppen. Morning, County Board. So the new highway facility updates, I've been plugging along, giving you a spreadsheet at the County Board meeting here, probably February, March, April, May, and we did not have one in July. The reason we didn't have an update in July is because we were just fine-tuning the overall plan. There really wasn't a whole lot to update you since June. But now that August has rolled around, we've really got a lot to talk about. So I'll go through it. If you've got any questions afterwards, please ask me, and I'll do my best to answer you in what I know. So the project planning, the core planning team is done designing the project, and now it's moved into the bidding phase. Construction has somewhat started, and that's only started with Waupaca County crews. We've gotten a DNR permit to start phase 1, which is to strip the topsoil, level off the earthwork, start balancing that. We started that last week, Monday. We've been out there for 6 full days of operating. So we've had a good dry spell. Last night's rain really didn't hurt us too bad. However, clay and rain don't mix too well. So right underneath that little bit of clay that we have, it's all dust still. So it keeps our operators moving. You'll notice on the picture, which is just 1 day's worth of work way on the bottom, that there's 3 circles located in that photo. Whenever you, on any project, whether it's a road building project, off-road building project like this one, the DNR has their say and they can come in and determine where there's considered to be wetlands. And so them 3 circles, which are adjacent to County Highway A, are considered farmed wetlands. They're areas that have been tilled and excavated and planted and moved around for years. And we have to avoid them 3 areas until we go through the public hearing process. Whenever you're going to disturb more than 10,000 square feet of wetlands, which we are, the DNR, an assured delineator, has considered these 3 farmed areas to be a wetland. We have to avoid them until the public hearing meeting is met. So I've met with the landowners on all sides of this property, and at this point we are looking at now being able to operate within them wetland areas, of which we're waiting on the DNR to issue the Phase 2 DNR permit, and that's beyond site grading. That's considered for wetland disturbance. So big steps with that, working with the DNR. In addition to that, we had sent out bids for the highway department's facility to get built. We opened them bids, was it last week, Wednesday in the afternoon downstairs. It went pretty smooth. We had 148 different contractors bid on 43 different bid items of the project. We're still compiling them results, contacting them landowner or subcontractors. I've got additional meetings this afternoon in Appleton to meet with some of the HVAC contractors to compile what you're going to see next week Tuesday at the special county board meeting, where Paul from Myron is going to present the guaranteed maximum price build. So dollar amount right now, we're sitting pretty good. I'm not going to elaborate any more on that, but you're going to be, we're under our space needs study bid, that's for sure. The foundry is eager to start hauling us some sand, so we have an agreement signed with them that they're going to haul fill material to our project site. In the far western areas, we've got over 8-foot lifts, so they're going to provide between 15 and 20,000 cubic yards of material to our highway site. That's fill material that we don't have to buy, we don't have to truck in. It's working with the local business to help make this project go. Other things that we're going through right now is the state has received the full set of drawings, which we were doing in July, and they're going through the final permitting of it, verifying that snow loads are going to hold the ceiling up and that the walls are going to be structurally sound, going through the state's process on building permit review, and we should be seeing that here in the next week. After that state process is done and they're done reviewing this public building, then it's going to go to the locals, which would be the city of Waupaca. City of Waupaca will then go ahead and say, yep, the state reviewed the architectural structural engineering study. All your DNR permits are on board. Then at that point, the city of Waupaca will issue us an address, and we will be whatever address on County Trunk Highway A, but we'd be in the city of Waupaca. And that process then allows the city to say, we're giving you the permits, and now we're going to allow you to expand our sanitary sewer and expand our water services to feed your new site in our new city. So that's another process where you're covering the bases on all the different entities that are helping build this project. Outside of that, the crews are moving along very, very quick. I think that by the end of September, we're going to be done with our balancing the earth that's on site, and then we're going to be able to start accepting foundry sand for our fill material to start bringing it up to final grade. So pretty excited to see where we're sitting here in the next week and a half with the project site. The ultimate goal is to get where the main building is sitting built so that it can start its settling process, and that's all ready for a contractor to move in and start digging the footings here mid-September. All done before it starts to freeze, because we don't want to be digging in in October when you have that potential, when you're now having to add heating blankets and unthawing the subgrade and whatnot. So it's going just like planned at this point.
I took a ride out there last week and sat there for 10 minutes and watching the earth getting moved. That was really exciting. See the dust and the earth getting moved?
Thank you.
Progress.
Yep. Any questions at this time? I'll see you next week, Tuesday then at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, for my report today, it's going to be on one item, and you can guess what that is. And yesterday we lost a real trooper, one of our own, one of the icons of Waupaca County since the county's been in business. John Jack Penny was a respected name all over the county. I'm up from around the Clintonville area, which is kind of the northeast corner of Waupaca County, and they knew Jack well. Yesterday, I just had a feeling that I should go down to Theta Clark, and I got there about 10 after 3, and of course you can't get in intensive care, but I told the nurse who I was, and she said, "I'll make sure you get in there." So I waited 5 minutes, and the family member came out to get me and to go into intensive care in a waiting room. Unfortunately, Jack had just passed. I visited with his family, namely Lance, met his other sons. His other son from Colorado hadn't made it yet. And they asked if I might want to see him, and yes, I do. So they led me down this hall to Mr. Penny's room, 232, and I spent a little time with Jack. He had already passed, but I had a little chat with Jack and held his hand and thanked him for all the mentoring he did to me, for me. Jack was an incentive for me to run for the Wisconsin County Association presidency. In 2008, Jack told me, "Dick, you got to do this. Nobody from Waupaca County's done this." And in 2009, I was interviewed and did get selected as WC president only because of Jack Penny, because he was my cheerleader. He was my prod. "Captain, you got to get going doing this. Do this." And I thank Jack for that, because it was a great education in county government. Of course, sending me all over the nation when I was the president in 2011, 2012 with Mark O'Connell, and part of the National Counties Association, rubbing elbows with a lot of great people. It's great education. It's kind of funny, I have to go back. After I said goodbye to Jack, I told him, again, thank you from all of us at the county board, and I told him we'll all see you later. Jack and I got off to a tenuous start in 1998, for you see, I ran for the county board and defeated his longtime friend. I think it's Mr. John Schrader, who'd been on the county board 27 years. So he took very lightly to me when I was here the first term. However, through our meetings and our conferences we went to, we got to be friends because of our common interest in sports and having a 5 o'clock cocktail, and we started talking government, and Jack was a bit conservative. But he had the unique ability to be a conservative and still wanting the county to move forward, just like this highway project, this highway building project. Jack wanted the dollars watched, but he says, "Dick, you're right, we've got to keep moving the county forward." And it wasn't too long ago, Jack told me, "Oh, there's one thing I want to keep living for, to see the grand opening of the county highway maintenance facility." And the other is, he told me that musically, "I want to be here when Coach Dick Bennett speaks." Well, he will be here in spirit, but he's going to have an aerial view. So he'll be looking down upon us, and he won't miss it. Lately, he told me his knee hurt him so bad, and he didn't know if he should get it looked at or maybe have surgery. And he was toughening that out. So Sunday, he was going to the Waupaca Lakeman ball game. He parked his car in the parking lot here at the law enforcement center and walked across the road to go to the Waupaca Lakeman field, because I know that gets very crowded in parking over there. So he just thought, well, he had a parking place and walked there, which is, what, 2 blocks or a block. And that's when the accident happened. I happened to hear it on the scanner. No names were mentioned. I was home at noon hour on a Sunday, and that Sunday, and I heard it on the scanner about bringing the helicopter in. We got a severely hurt pedestrian here, head injuries and all that type of thing. And then I got the fateful call early Monday morning from the sheriff's department telling me it was John Jack Penny that got hit, and he was on life support. Later I got another call from the sheriff's department saying, Dick, it looks like they're going to pull life support. That's when I decided I have to get down there and represent, one of my jobs is represent the county board to be with the family, because he was a significant county board member here. Not that we all aren't, but he was, as you know, Jack Penny. Talking about Jack Penny being a conservative, for a while there he went through a series of pressing his red button all the time, voting no. So I got the idea of getting some tape. I think Clerk Robbins helped me at the time. She didn't apply the tape, but I applied the tape over that, and I said, out of order. So when it came the first time to vote, he looked at that. I was watching him, and he went, shook his fist at me right where Dave is sitting now. So that was my experience yesterday. I came home a shaken man, tough drive back from Theta Clark. Hard to sleep last night because he did take a terrible, terrible blow. Hard to recognize him, just Jack. But we know that he's a happy man in a good place, and the family thanked me so much for being here. They're representing Waupaca County. So I'm still shaken, as we all are. I tried calling many of you that some didn't know about the fatality of it, the end of it yesterday afternoon. And so we go on. We go on and carry Jack's legacy to our method here at Waupaca County. Yes, we watch the taxpayers' dollars, but we move forward. We move forward. You have to move forward, whether it's being in business or government. And we do just that. And I thank you to the supervisors we have here and to the professional staff we have here. And I'll say it again. Not all agree, but we work as a team here. We work as a family here. If we got things we agree with the staff, we can do it behind closed doors, folks, as we do with our families. We have differences of opinion, yes, that's democracy. But I, as your county board chair, and along with Mandy Welch and other other people, have sat in many disputes between department heads. And we get it done behind closed doors, in the basement room for a couple hours, and we get it done. It doesn't go to the newspapers. It doesn't go, we don't air dirty laundry all over like some counties do. But I have to say, every time I've done that with staff, we walked out of that room with mutual respect, shook hands, and walked down the hall together. That's Waupaca County for you, folks. And some of us want to go a different direction, and it'll destroy everything what Waupaca County has done in recent years. It was built by our forefathers as a great county, and it still is. If you don't believe so, take a trip around Wisconsin. I was lucky to do that as Wisconsin County's president. As I told you many times, it was just such a pleasure to get across the border to Waupaca County. We can deal with one another, talk to one another, behind closed doors. That's how we work things out here. And that's why we're so successful, whether some of you believe it or not. And it was because of people like Jack Penny, who will agree with that, everything that I just said. So again, as we say goodbye to Jack Penny, in a funeral coming up, I don't know when, just remember, when we do our county board due diligence here, to remember John Jack Penny. He'll be smiling on us and say, go get her. Or you're something else, Cap'n. Or why don't you lose some weight, Cap'n? Yeah, he said those things, and he's right. So, at any rate, thank you. That's all I have to say today. That was enough. And we got some appointments here. Clerk?
Do have to appoint Dave Field to the Manawa TIF District for the Waupaca County Representative to replace Supervisor John Smith, who remains on the committee, but he's on for the city of Manawa.
Okay, we'd like a motion.
You have to press your request to speak.
Supervisor Zog?
Make a motion to approve that?
Motion by Supervisor Zog. Is there a second? Supervisor Morick? And a second by Supervisor Morick. Questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 24-0.
And of course, you see the announcements and correspondence. We have the WCEDC monthly report, electronic communication tip of the month. And thank you, Supervisor Dave Johnson, for the non-fat treats. Very good. Good job. With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Fedowitz?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fedowitz to adjourn, and Mr. Hendrick. Second by Mr. Hendrick. Please vote.
This one you don't, this one just pass the fail.
Oh, okay.
We are adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thanks for all being here. Thank you, and it's kind of a difficult meeting day. Thank you.
I apologize.
I'm glad it was short.